Coming back.
Okay. Let me see if this is streaming on what's the face like it should be. Um,
Upload progress 93%.
on it's supposed to be on YouTube, but I don't know if the YouTube thing hooked up right. But we gonna see. I don't know if it's under the right one. Oh yeah, look. See?
Oh,
Ain't that cute?
oh
I think
yes,
that's the
it's cute. It's so cute.
I think it's under the right channel. I hope it is. Oh yeah, it is.
Another channel.
No, I have one regular YouTube one and one whatever. You can share it.
It's already on my page, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you still. Oh yeah, yes. Okay.
All right, let's go.
You ready?
I'm waiting on you.
Wait, hold on.
How you
Okay.
gonna ask me if I'm ready and you not ready?
Cause I gotta share it.
Well,
All right.
catchy, yeah, yeah,
Who we
mama.
talking about first?
It don't matter. You know how we do. You started off.
I'm gonna start off.
Ladies first.
Okay. Well, first
Then we're back.
we're back. This is the first time we've done something to go back to Charlotte, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one live we've done since we've been back to Charlotte. It took us some time to kind of get back
Reacclimated.
to doing, yeah, reacclimated and get back to doing this after being in Iowa so long. But yeah, this is the first one we've done. Um, Actually, we've had like a lot of stuff happen since then, since our last one, which I don't even remember what it was about.
Mm-mm.
I don't remember what the last one was about, but we've had a lot of stuff happen um, since then. So, too much to update on. Of course, most of you know that uh, my mother passed away, so that's why we're in Iowa. She passed away in April, and we stayed in Iowa until June, trying to get some of her um affairs completed. So, and then we got back in June, kind of just been had one thing after another happen. So, health scare and everything after that when we got back. So, was dealing with all that, so we didn't really get a chance to start back up until now. So, but we hope that from this point forward we'll be more consistent.
Yeah, we're gonna change the date too because football coming up, and we know how people are about football. So we gotta figure out what day we're gonna do. Probably like a Tuesday because you got Monday football, Thursday football,
Yeah,
and
people go
stuff
out on
like that.
Fridays,
Yeah,
busy on Saturday. So yeah,
yeah.
maybe like a Tuesday or something. Or Wednesday's Bible study, but maybe Tuesday or Wednesday.
We can do Bible study.
Yeah, we can do Bible study.
The Lord said. Anyway, um, let's go.
All right, but look, before I start though, no, we do at the end the books though. So one interesting thing that we wanted to talk about, I put in the title about disputes and resolution.
Yeah, because we had a dispute,
We had a dispute. It was funny. Actually, we were going to try to do this show last week,
and then when that's what causes the
and
dispute.
that's what caused the dispute. So that's why we didn't do the show last week because we ended up with a dispute trying to do the show. What do you want to say?
I don't know.
So anyway, I was trying to the show, the platform kind of changed that we use for this show. So I had to re-log into everything and had lost like connection with my Facebook page, Jermaine's Facebook page. So I was trying to get reconnected to that. And like Jermaine has said before, he has many personalities on Facebook. Um, because that's just the thing that he used to do. So in trying to log back in, I logged into an old account of his
That
um,
I didn't remember
that he didn't remember. I didn't know existed. And from that point,
from a couple years ago.
from a couple of years ago, the dispute ensued. And I'm not gonna go into details, but it was like I felt some kind of way about the fact that he had that page and had actually been on that page somewhat 2 years ago, when he had told me that he wasn't on the page. So really, I was upset about something that had happened 2 years ago because I was saying like during the time.
Page because I didn't remember the page.
No, back to 2 years ago when he was on the page. I'm talking about.
On what page?
So 2 years ago when he was on the page, he didn't tell me that he had that page.
Oh.
And so that's what I was upset about. Jermaine's thing was like he didn't remember he had the page, and he was more present time. I was more past time. You had this page and you didn't tell me about it. And so that's where the dispute came from, and it was something he couldn't remember why he had posted a certain thing, and I was saying it was because for one reason, but it ended up being this big dispute that lasted for how long?
About a day and a half.
We ended up talking to our counselor about it on Monday. We couldn't get it resolved. So then we had another session with her on Wednesday. By Wednesday, we had talked about it and gotten it resolved, but it was like a day and a half process before we got it resolved. But the key learning points out of that was what?
Well, I got a lot of personal things going on, so I didn't. Me personally, I have a lot of personal things going on. So when it was brought up about the page and everything else, my mind was like, that happened 2 years ago. We're married now. I don't really care about that. I ain't gonna say care, but I didn't really remember it and things like that. And it to me, it became aggravating to talk about something from 2 years ago. Um, with everything that I had going on and got going on and all of that. So what I realized was I wasn't really being as I was being selfish because I should have understood that whatever it was, it affected her in a way, and I was about me in that moment. So it took me a minute because I really got like really really upset. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to, a little bit of one of the biggest times, one of the only times that I can remember where I like really tried to avoid her. Uh, just didn't feel like being bothered around her, and that's not us. That's not me. And then I, started calming down and seeing certain things and thinking and praying, and uh, I just realized I was being a little bit selfish. So, after and it shouldn't take that long for somebody to calm down. I do agree with that, but I was just a little bit, I was upset.
So I think some of the key things we learned from that was what the repair time. And actually, it's funny because I was just listening to someone today who was talking about relationships, and like he was saying how like your repair time for repairing something, like if you have a disagreement or argument, shouldn't be like you shouldn't go long periods, days without talking to each other. There should be a time. Yes, people need cooling off periods and they need time to separate and time to go back and think about some things so that you don't say anything out of anger, out of emotion. But your repair time shouldn't take forever. And one of the things he was saying with that is like the longer your repair time take, like sometimes you don't there's no coming back from that because you may take a long time trying to repair something, and now the other person that got in their head, you know what, I don't care what they say to me. They're mentally already gone. So like and I agree, like your repair time shouldn't take as long as it did that last incident that we had. But I think we came to an agreement when we talked to our counselor. Was like, okay, we'll set a time, 4 hours. We'll come back together, see if we can at least touch base on it. But it shouldn't be where we're not talking to each other or we're avoiding each other for an extensive period of time. Even if we have to say, okay, well, we'll come back in 4 hours. Hey, we can't resolve it. We have to wait till we talk to the counselor again and try to figure out some things. But we're not going to allow that to impact how we're interacting with each other in that moment. So I think that was important. Walk away, take away from that.
Yeah, I agree. I tell you what, I agree. Here I go with my percentages. I agree with that with like 98%. I think situation. Like I told her this when we was talking to the counselor. Everything is to me from for me is situational, depending on what the dispute is, then it's situational. How long me personally will be mad. I think everybody is different when it comes to that. Um, Even listening to her now, uh, I'll say this for our relationship and our marriage. I'm gonna try the 4 hour thing. But I think a lot of people or different people, people have different cooling off periods. Some people may take a day or two, or I don't think it should be no long. Definitely don't think it should be no longer than a day. I don't think it should have been a day and a half with what we went through. Uh, but however, it definitely should be a period set, where you come back and try to resolve it or just agree to disagree and move on from it. Um, I also think that you know you have to talk to one another to see what the other person needs to get, to get that point, or what their time expectancy is of that. Uh, so I mean, I agree. I'm gonna do the 4 hours because that's what she needs. Uh, to when I say she needs, like, for her mind to be settled and whatever, because if it was up to her, technically it'd have to be done like within 30 minutes.
No, but that's why I said in 4 hours at least. If you're still not to the point where to resolution, at least come back in 4 hours and say that and say, okay, but we're gonna just table this, because you can still table something and not have it resolved. You can still say, okay, well, we're not gonna allow it impact how we're interacting and still not have it resolved. If
Yeah.
that makes sense, because you shouldn't be, like we talked about before. You shouldn't, to me, you shouldn't be going to bed angry with somebody or not talking to them. You shouldn't even be leaving the house. I mean, it's already risky enough because people drop dead of heart attacks and everything else, or end up with having a headache and they done had an aneurysm. I mean, look what just happened with Jimmy Fox. Like, stuff happens like moment to moment, so you really shouldn't be going any length of time not talking or so angry at you love that you're not talking to them, because anything can happen.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Because again, what and I said this in the counseling session. What happened if we had went to sleep and one of us didn't wake up? Then the last thing that we have on our heart and memory of the person that we uh, say that we love and want to be with the rest of our life is an argument.
Right.
So that's I've lived or and have seen people argue, and then a couple days later somebody is hurt in the hospital or no longer here, and then
Mm-hmm.
they have to live with that regret of, I wish I wouldn't have did this, or I wish I wouldn't have did that. And that's the worst type of regret to have,
It really is.
in
I
my
agree.
opinion.
I agree. It is. So anyway, that was our dispute and resolution. But in that, you always learning something. So, like, another thing I heard today too, and it was saying, like, you're gonna have conflict within your relationship. Like, if you don't have any conflict within your relationship, then somebody's not being truthful. Somebody's not telling you something. Somebody's not opening up to you. You're not gonna agree on everything. It could be something as simple as, I want to take a vacation, and someone else saying, hey, I don't we don't have the money to take vacation. But there's no way you're agreeing on everything. So, like, you have a relationship where everything is supposedly just so perfect, where everybody's agreeing with everything. There's probably something underlying going on. So I agree with that aspect too. So being able to have those conversations and being able to have, not always run from conflict, is just as a sign of a healthy relationship too. Though you're gonna have conflict, it's about how you resolve it and how you come back from that conflict that matters more so than anything.
Yeah, that's true. um and going back to what you said too, the other takeaway is, again, and I think we've touched on this before. When you're arguing with someone that you love, it's very important to remember that they're not your enemy. The problem or the issue that's at hand is the enemy that needs to be resolved. So you need to come together to conquer that battle of the issue versus trying to go at each other and act like they just a person on the street or somebody you're just, you know, ran across, old friend or something. Like, that person is the person that you're saying, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with, and y'all in a moment right now. So you attack the issue at hand and try to come to the resolution that way, and that's very important.
That is fighting fear.
Who?
Fighting fears. That's what I just heard it
Oh
again
yeah,
today. fighting fair.
Yes.
So that's really important. So anyway, that's what I think that was it for that part of it. Just wanted to, because it's called, unfiltered married life. So it's about being real and raw and telling you about the ups and downs and everything. But also to show people that that's normal. Healthy relationships have conflict and arguments and debates and everything else. But if you're healthy, you have a good foundation, you bounce back from them, or you learn from them, and you learn what changes need to be made, what compromises need to be made, how you can do things better the next time around.
Hey, you just said something
What?
that we can talk about. Continue on. I'm sorry.
No, I was done with that part.
Oh, so let's discuss the foundation thing. We had a conversation as well about foundations and relationships. So what we're trying to figure out is, and that we've been going back and forth. If you start off in a relationship, whether it's a friendship relationship or intimate relationship, whatever the case is, if you start off with a faulty or a bad type of lying, deception. Well, it can be like little minute deceptions. Can you fix a broken foundation? A foundation with cracks in it. Can that be fixed?
Can you continue to build upon that?
Yes.
Or what are you supposed to do? Like if it's a cracked foundation, can relationships, marriages, whatever, survive by continually building on that foundation, or is there something that they need to do, right?
Yeah.
In order to fix that foundation first.
Because we've discussed this. I don't think we went into detail, so I guess now's the time to do it. I personally, I don't want to say anything is impossible, but in my honest opinion, when you build on a foundation, everything can be, like I said this to her the other day, can be broken down, torn off the foundation. And if that foundation is steady and solid, you can rebuild everything. But if you got cracks in it, like she said, it's possible to continue to build. I think it's very, very hard. I don't want to say anything is impossible. I think part of me want to say no.
That you can't build on a cracked foundation.
Because I think once you start rebuilding this, everything's gonna fall back down, and then you're gonna get back to the root of the cause, and it's the foundation that's cracked.
I think you can reform your foundation.
Isn't that sort of like I'm gonna use truck driving lingo? Mm-hmm. Isn't that sort of like having a tire that was blown and then you retread it? Sooner or later, that damn tire gonna break and pop again, and it's gonna be quicker than normal.
No, because I'm talking about. So I think you can recreate your foundation. I think you can rebuild your foundation, depending on how cracked it is. Okay, so if for example, if your foundation is cracked, or how I described it the other day, porous, there may be some things that you can do without having to start all over from scratch. But I think if needed, you could start from scratch. And you can do this especially with God, you can start from scratch to rebuild that foundation. And nobody's saying it's going to be easy, because in that you have to really apply, I think, some biblical principles, especially when it's talking about forgiveness and forgetting, and all those things have to be applied to it. And you have to mean it in order for you to lay that new foundation.
You just said two things. One, if you it depends on how bad it's cracked, because if it's like a little corner, that corner can be chipped and replaced, right, so to speak. Also, again, the key is to forgive and forgetting. Forgiving and literally forgetting, because if every time something happens, you run back to whatever it was when it first started, whatever the issue is. Let's say if it's a infidelity thing, I don't know, I'm just saying something, and then you run back to that. Well, 5 years later, remember back in 1902, you cheated and da 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 da, or you text him or text her or called him or called her, or whatever the case may be. Then that crack is still in that foundation, and it's never gonna be fixed. Mm-hmm. So if let's say even if that happened 5 years ago, right, and then it's 5 years later and then the new it happened again,
Mhm.
right? Personally don't think if the foundation is fixed that you can run back to what happened 5 years ago. Well, you did that 5 years ago, so you haven't changed. Well, did you really forgive me for that for 5 years ago? Or that's how I see it, because it's always, that's what I'm saying, it's always gonna be there. Whatever
Wait,
happened
but you
is
mean if they
always,
commit the same offense?
yeah. But that always gonna be there. It's always gonna be there. Because again, if that would have never happened 5 years ago and you committed the same offense 5 years now,
Mhm.
then you're just dealing with that issue that happened now. You're not gonna run back to 5 years ago. Well, this happened 5 years ago. You're
Mhm.
gonna be dealing with the issue that's in front of you now. So I think what happened 5 years ago shouldn't be addressed. It should be whatever the issue is now. Because if you run back to what happened 5 years ago, you just sometimes, yeah, you're not gonna always forget, okay? But you can you honestly say that you forgave somebody if you bring it up? I don't care if you
Well, I
did.
think I think there's first. I think there's a few differences though too, because if you're talking about like you have a little chip in there or a crack, right, from something. Say you're talking about infidelity. For some people, that would just completely ruin the whole
Oh
foundation,
well,
right?
yeah, that's a
But
big
for
one.
other people, it maybe it's a crack, right? So then they repair that crack, and it's like okay, but 5 years later, it happened. I don't think you necessarily have to bring back up the fact that it happened for that repeat offense to just shatter the whole thing. It's almost like a windshield. You know, if you have a crack in the windshield and you may be okay driving on that for 5 years, like the crack in my windshield. But
Yeah, but you see how that shit
it,
spread it?
no, it spread. But I'm just saying, but like I could be going down the highway now and a pebble hit it, which is probably what caused the crack in the first place. But because this pebble hit it again in that same spot or something, it shatters the whole window when really it shouldn't have shattered it, right? So I think in that respect, yeah, it can happen. But I also think that even if you say, forget it, we're not going to repair this foundation, we're going to just completely build anew. Again, I don't think if somebody commits the same offense, it's like you bring that up, but it could mean that when they repeat that offense, it's over and done with. There's no rebuilding, there's no cracks. It just, that foundation, I mean, you're just done. That relationship, that marriage, whatever, is just over and done with.
Well, I think that should that I yeah, well, I think if it happened, especially when we're talking about things like infidelity,
Mm-hmm.
if you try to get around that and it happens twice, then it should be done, especially if it's the same person
Right.
repeating it.
Because I don't think everything is faulty foundation, right? So there may be some things that happen when you were dating or before you got married that doesn't necessarily make your foundation unstable, or that doesn't necessarily lead to cracks in your foundation, right? There's minor infractions that I don't think will cause, because your foundation, if it's made out, if you're building it out of what you should be building on, is strong anyway. So not everything can crack that. But I think it's the major offenses, like we said, the infidelity, finding somebody cheat, or finding out somebody lied about their entire life. Like we watched a movie where, like, a person or documentary, the person was not even who they said they were. Like that's major. Like somebody had a whole life, and they could be a good person. For some people, it could be like somebody that came, they didn't change their name, because back in the day they were this and they were that, and you just didn't know that part of them, right? So everything you know about them is from where they supposed to change their name and they are living this new life. Where for some people it could be like, okay, but everything I know about you has been a lie. We built it off of something faulty because that's not who you are, and that can still maybe destroy the foundation that they had, even though that person's
Ooh,
not a bad person.
that's a good
Do you
one.
get what I'm saying?
Yeah, because can you say everything that if they change their name and they met you and then or met someone and start talking to them, and what you know about them is the person that they are.
Mm-hmm.
So how big of a why is my question, would what they were or what they did or whoever they were in the past would matter? Because if even if they had killed four people,
Mm-hmm.
right, got away with it, maybe they want to leave that there and don't even
Oh,
want to
like that
think
person
about
that they arrested 30 years later that had been living a new life, like a
it.
totally new life.
I don't know what the hell you're
Oh,
talking
but
about,
some
but
dude had killed some people or something, and he had got away with it. And he like had this whole new life. He is like married, was in the church, was doing this and that, and they came back to me. But I'm just thinking like, what about the spouse?
Okay, yeah,
she didn't know about that.
we're gonna use that because I don't know where the hell that came from. But anyway, we're gonna use that. So yeah, maybe he got away with it. Maybe he actually did it, right? And got away with it, meaning he went to court and got away with it. Maybe that's something that he don't want to relive. Maybe that's something that he don't even want to think about, because now he didn't gave himself to God. God can forgive me, and why the heck do I have to worry about what anybody else think about my past? So if I'm this person now, why do you? If I don't feel comfortable, don't want you to know about what I did, then why should it matter? And would you leave a person because of that? If they're treating you the way you want to be treated, they're God fearing, y'all building this, that, and the third, but because that happened, how important really is that?
Because okay, so this is why it's important. Same with what happened to him. Because when they come back 20 years later and say, "Hey, we need to take you to prison now because your spouse is totally off guard," or say it's not something like that. But when it comes back later, oh well, you had this whole, like the other movie we watched, the lady had a whole family that she kind of just left and she started this new life. It wasn't like she didn't kill nobody or anything like that. It was just like she, I guess, had a mental breakdown or something that left her family, left her kids, and came with this and married, started who changed her name, everything. Well, her kids show up. So now she got kids. This dude didn't know anything about her having kids, didn't know anything about her having this form of life.
That would matter.
Stuff like that. But then the other thing, and it's important because I heard somebody say this today too, is like when you get married, you become one, right? So if you become one, and we're supposed to be one with one another, you're supposed to be able to trust your spouse with anything, whether it's the good, the bad, everything. You're supposed to be able to come to your spouse and say, "Hey, this is what I was doing back in the day. This is who I was. I've changed my identity. That's not who I am right now today." But I tell you that the person framed it really well. He said, "If we're one, why would you deceive me by not telling me everything? By not telling me what's on your mind? Why would you deceive me like that?" And it is a deception. At the end of the day, it's deception. He went as far as to say, like, if a man is saying that he's used to, having a bunch of women and blah, blah, but he's not doing that. He's married, but like there's something going on in the relationship where he's desiring that again. Like he should be open.
So my roll oats because I didn't do it before. I'm leaving your ass.
No, but that ain't what he's saying. That's not saying I want to go out and do it. It's like he was talking about, like, if you're being faced with some type of temptation, or if there's something going on with you mentally that's making you feel a certain way, like you should be able to come to your spouse and tell him. You're not supposed to go do it because and then that's the other thing he said the Bible says you're supposed to seek counsel when you have things like that come up. And when you go to your spouse, you're seeking counsel. And because he said what happens then is that if you do go out and do it, and then now you're trying to explain to your spouse after the fact, well, I went out and did it because I was feeling this kind of way. Why didn't you just come to your spouse beforehand and say that, and y'all could have averted the issue?
I don't believe in that, because I'm gonna tell you right now, if I go out and do it, that means I was gonna do it whether I told you or not.
I don't know. I think if a person comes and says that to their partner, they're saying that they're seeking some type of resolution. I think the key is, like, you're supposed to be letting your partner know what you're thinking, like the good and the bad. You're not supposed to be fudging stuff for them. You're not supposed to be like, well, I'm not gonna tell her that I feel this way. Or I'm not supposed to be. I'm not gonna tell him that I feel this way. Like, we're supposed to be communicating that with each other, because if we're feeling that way, then there's obviously an issue going on, and we can't resolve the issue if we're not communicating. And a lot of people said that one thing with infidelity and the one thing with cheating that people don't ever, what most people don't do is they'll be like, well, you need to forgive when they're going through counseling, but they don't talk about the fact that, okay, but we need to figure out what it was that was going on that led to that in the first place. So that's part of almost like what he's saying. Like if you're talking to each other, you know what's going on in your marriage that may lead somebody to do something crazy.
Something. If I tell you, you know what, I've been in love with you the last 3 years, but for some reason, I think I want to go out here and be a hoe again. I'll be lucky if I wake up the next morning. So don't do that.
But
don't do that.
No, but that's what he's saying. But it's on both ends. You're supposed to be a partner. You're supposed to be the type of person that your partner can talk to you about. That's what marriage is. And you're supposed to be able to get to that level. We all can have this type of conversation with each other.
Get to that level. Because if you ever tell me you want to go be with another nigga or you a man and you've seen somebody that turned you on, I'm gonna let you go ahead and go over that way. Because I'm gonna get the hell away.
That ain't the point. Okay, so back to foundation. Okay, but he's just saying, but the thing is, if I was ever thinking that, it would have to be because there was something going on. Like I'm saying, like he's talking about people who's obviously having some issues, and that's what's leading them to think like that. Yeah, like, but what you do most of the time is you try to divert that stuff anyway. Like you try to do what you need to do in your marriage so that it never gets to that point. Because to be real, some people use that as an excuse to do what they're doing.
I think to
I'm unhappy. That's why I was out there cheating. Well, did you go to your spouse and say I'm unhappy, and because I'm unhappy, it feels like it makes me want to go cheat? Give them the option to say, well, okay, well, let me leave you then.
Well, I think anybody that thinks like that, and I used to be one of them people that could agree with that. Anybody thinks like that need to do more work on themselves. Mm-hmm. Because I'm one of the people now as of now, let's say now again, as of now, I'm one of the people that thinks that there's no rhyme or reason for cheating. So if you get to the point where you feel as though that you have to go be with someone else, okay, if you want to say, yeah, you should go tell your partner or whatever the case may be. I will say this. I don't know if you're going to like this. Mm-hmm. If I ever get to the point that I feel as though I need to go be with somebody else, it's time for me to leave you.
Okay. But at least tell me that.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and that's what he's saying. Like, just be open with your partner.
Oh, well, from that standpoint, yeah. But I'm not going to be like, you know what? I love you and you know, I just think I want to go be with somebody else or go have
no, because even if you said you got to the point where you said I'm gonna leave you because I feel like we're not working and blah blah blah, that you're open in lines of communication at least at that point, even where something maybe could be established before you go out and do that. Because now I'm aware. But do you get what I'm saying?
But that's what I'm saying. Going back to saying people yeah, I hear you, but I'll just go back to saying what you said before I go out and do that. I mean, I know you're not talking about me. I'm just talking about in general.
Yeah.
But if I have that, you are the one that have taught me this, and I've learned this. If I actually have that moral compass to go out and do that anyway, I've already left you.
Well, now I'm not talking. Yeah, but I guess we're not talking about that level for somebody to just go out and do it. I think he was using what he was saying. What I'm saying is like what you're saying. If you get to the point where it's like, okay, I want to leave this marriage, or if you get to the point where it's like I don't know how you just phrased it, but I want to leave this marriage because I think there's maybe somebody out there better for me, right? Then you communicate that with your spouse. Everybody say you did nothing, but you come, okay. This is not working for us, right? Because then if you're having that type of communication if you don't say nothing to your spouse and you just leave one day and divorce them, hey, I'm done, I'm just want to divorce you, then there's really no opportunity to kind of try to figure out what's going on and fix anything. But if you sit down and have that conversation with them, at least it could be like your spouse may say, well, what is it that's causing you to feel that? Because they may not know. Because some people just don't communicate well. Well, it's this and this and that. And that's why I feel like I just need, okay, well, before you just walk all the way out, you know, you want to try trial separation and go to counseling. You know what I'm saying? And they may give them the opportunity to do it that way, as opposed to somebody just. So it's all about just having that conversation and being open and communicating. So what you're saying, like even with the foundation thing, if a person had a previous life, then yeah, you owe it to your spouse or your partner, the person you claim you love, to tell them that.
That's a good question. Can you fix that? I don't. I think when me personally, I think when it gets that far, uh, you already made your mind up.
No,
So
I think God can fix anything
well,
though.
now that see when you
So
put
you
God,
cannot put God in a box, but your marriage is
no,
supposed to be founded on
well
God.
then so if we're gonna go that route, then you should seek God before that feeling or when that feeling even starts, right? You should seek God. Matter of fact, you should be, of course, if we're going to use God, you seek God throughout the marriage so that maybe that feeling don't even happen, right? I think to the point of what you're saying, or when it gets to that thought process, I think your mind is already made up, and I don't think nobody else can. I don't think somebody can change it because for you to actually, for someone to actually say that I want to go be with somebody else, that's not a thing that just pop in their head overnight. That's been bubbling and bubbling
I
and
don't know, but
bubbling
that I
and
don't. I
bubbling.
think that's how
So I
people
don't.
come back from infidelity. I think that's how people come back from when they separate, they get back together. And so many people have come back from that and have lasted years.
Yeah, because they didn't separate it and went out here and
No,
slept
I
with
mean
everybody.
that, but maybe not so. Or just like this, we got some books I was gonna show y'all before we leave too. But just like the one of the authors of the book, her thing was like her and her husband was both into church. They were both very
I
religious.
agree.
And then what happened was, yeah, it's gonna be hurt, but it's not impossible to fix because like what she was saying, like her husband for whatever reason, whatever he was going through, he stopped going to church, blah blah blah. But the way she's able to repair their marriage is because sometimes when you have one spouse that lose their faith or lose the connection or whatever, you that's when you need your partner who's supposed to be your helpmate, who's supposed to be your rib or whatever, to intercede for you. And intercession is real. A person can intercede for you and pray for you, and God will hear those prayers. So you could have that mindset all you want, but if I'm in prayer for you saying, hey God, touch his heart, blah blah blah, and that's my prayer. And because God loves me so, and if he believes God hates divorce, and if he has ordained our relationship to be such, then he'll move you. Whatever it was that you were
Well, I
feeling,
tell
he'll
you
fix
what.
that, and he'll move you, and he'll change your mindset, and he'll start to repair a marriage and
Well,
relationship.
I tell you what. That's who's gonna have to do it, because when a person get that thought in their head, they already out the
Well,
door.
I just think the only person that can do it is God. That's what I'm saying. Nothing is impossible with
Because
God, but it takes a reliance upon God.
and so if, again to your point, if let's I don't want to use us. Let's say that happened to person A and B.
Mhm.
Person B comes to person A and say, hey, this is not working for me. This is whatever the case is. I think I want to go elsewhere, or if I want to separate, right?
Mhm.
Now, person A start praying about that, right? Yes. Uh, uh, if God comes in and intercede, like you said, and this, that, and the third, that's the only thing that can happen. Because at that point, um, that's basically what it's going to take. Because again, that those feelings don't happen overnight. You just don't wake up one day and look at somebody, "Ooh, this ain't working. Let me
No, but
go."
no, but sometimes it is. It
And
is
it,
a
and
process,
and
but
it's
it doesn't
also a
mess.
two-way street. Both people got to want it to work.
Right, but sometimes it is a process, but people grow apart and don't know why they've grown apart. So sometimes
Right. That's what I just said.
sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with necessarily have couples who have separated. Nobody's went out and separated and start doing somebody else or anything. They're just separated because they feel like the love is lost. There's nothing else. But then while they're away from each other, they realize, hey, without this person, this is what I'm missing. This is what I'm lacking. It's because they've gotten too comfortable with each other. So they end up back together and they realize that's not where we want to go ever again. We don't want to ever experience that again. So it's not always about something like they just want to be with somebody else. It could be a midlife crisis. It could be a host of things that are going on. I've dealt with people in the mental health field, even as an attorney, who went through periods where they had whole nervous breakdowns and that caused them to leave a marriage that they thought they wanted to leave, but they realized after they got their mental health together that that's not what they wanted. So it's all those instances.
Well, yeah. All
And
that.
you're right, I does have to work on it. But I think so in those in circumstances like the author was saying, where the guy was like he had moved, like you know, disconnected himself from God and stuff like that. And I don't know, I don't believe in God stuff, but kind of had just gotten his relationship wasn't as close. I also think that prayer, I mean, that's why God have us pray for other people, can bring them back to where they need to be. Um, as far as that. But yeah, the partner at some point do have to probably show that they're actually trying to work on that too, because it's hard if you only got one person working trying to save a whole marriage by themselves.
Right, because I know of somebody that went to marriage counseling and he told the counselor that the only reason he here is because his wife wanted to be here. Like when you have a thought process like that, only person that can come fix that is God.
Yeah, and God could intercede still, because that's no different than a person who drags their partner to church who don't really want to come, but then they hear something while they're there. You have plenty of people that go to church, they're not really going intending to get any type of message or anything else, but then because they happen to be there at the right time, they are moved by something. It
Well,
happens all the time. You may hear something and be like, you know what, hey, that is what the problem is, or that is the issue. And so I think, like with the foundation thing, you just have to tell your partner everything. I think you can tear up that foundation, lay a new one, and start anew. But it takes, like I said, living by those biblical principles of forgiveness and
let's see.
forgetting.
Let's see if this works. I'm gonna tell my partner something. I want some chicken wings.
It's ground for divorce.
See what I'm saying? So I'm talking about right there. Hey, I do have something else that well, we do that next week because that'll be my topic for next week.
What? No, because you already said you can forget it.
I won't.
Yes, you are.
It's the one about that was one of the things that we were supposed to do when we said 3 weeks ago. We never did. About can a woman lead?
Oh yeah, I had that on my list. Can a woman lead in a relationship? That is a good one. We will have to do that one next week.
Yeah, that's gonna be a whole
The whole thing. Yeah. But anyway, so all that came up. Actually, the foundation thing came up when we had our dispute. All that stuff came up. So it's very interesting that we even talked about it, and that happened to find a book on it. But the other thing I want to talk about real quickly before we tell you about these books that we have is the whole cheap date versus meetup, because there's been this thing on social media about women not wanting ice cream dates or taking offense to a guy asking him on a date, and that date being like to a coffee shop or to ice cream or just something, because women are saying no, you should be investing the time in me if you want to date me. I don't know. I don't think I agree with that. Um,
I can make the conversation quick, and it's pretty much all I might have to say on this.
what?
We're talking about two different type of women.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the ones that's probably saying, no, I wouldn't do that, are Instagram models, hood rat chicks that's all about money, and or uh, I don't want to say I wouldn't even say corporate American women because depending on what type of corporate American woman it is, because I would see a lot of corporate American women saying, "Oh, that's cute. Yes, I would do that," because the they would tend to have more uh uh what is the word I'm looking for? They would tend to have more. It would tend to mean more to them because they can take care of themselves. They don't need the money. They don't need the. It's the thought behind it. Why they would be okay with that, right? Unless it's one of them other corporate American women that then made it to from from the bottom, and then she's all about money anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So then she's the one that ain't gonna work. But a woman of substance would think that's a great idea because it's more of you took the time to think of something that's not outlandish or you know what I mean. It's more like the picnic thing that I did.
Right.
Like I don't know how many women of of today you could take on a picnic and they don't look at you like you're crazy.
Right,
Like,
right.
you brought me out here with some peanut butter and jelly and some fake wine. Like, when it ain't about the date. I mean the price of it, but it's about the date and the thought process behind
Well,
it.
yeah, that, and then I think it's funny that a lot of women are, oh, well, you got to show that you. Even a lady that I was surprised, she's a traditionalist. I was surprised her weigh in on it was like, if a man really wants to get to know you or pursue you, he's gonna go all out for your first date and blah blah. But I think in that we forget that everybody has different love languages. First of all, some people don't even like fancy and flashy stuff, right? Like, I don't like. Don't take me to a fancy restaurant where I gotta try to make sure I'm hold my fork and stuff a certain way while I'm trying to get to know you, because it's a distraction at that point. Do you get what I'm saying? I can't focus on that because I'm too busy trying to be cultured. So don't do that to me. Like, and I don't want to be, if I'm all dressed up and stuff, then I'm worried about whether or not I'm gonna spill some food on my outfit. So I can't get there and talk um to you like I want to. For me, it's all about intimacy. And I'm not talking about sexual intimacy, but I'm talking about like being able to get to know a person. So being in their presence to the point where we can have a conversation, because I like to have conversations. I can't have a conversation with you like I want to in that type of setting. I can have a conversation with you if we're strolling through the park. I can have a conversation with you if we're walking on the beach. I can have a conversation with you if we're sitting down with some ice cream, or if we're I'm drinking tea and walking, walking the street. I can talk to you then, but I can't talk to you during a movie or while I'm trying to eat $100 steak and all that. Like,
Nigga, I don't want you talking the weekend. I mean, when you eating $100 steak,
I'm
you
just
better eat
saying.
that and make sure you eat all of it.
But I'm just saying. So like, it's the fact that people put so much focus on that, and the fact that people are trying to say what this means if a person doesn't do this is just crazy to me, because it's like you don't know what every woman does not have the same love language. Every woman does not require the same thing. And if a woman is okay with a guy taking her on an ice cream date, that doesn't mean that she's lowered her standards, or that she's picking men who don't have time to invest in her. That doesn't mean any of that necessarily. It may be all about what her end goal is. Her end goal may be that she wants to get to know somebody. Her end goal maybe she don't want some guy spending a whole bunch of money on her, because she don't want him to have some type of expectation that she's now going to answer his phone calls, or that she's now going to go back to his place afterwards.
I spent $100 on a steak. You giving me some?
I mean, I'm just saying, like, and that's what I was telling them. I said, sometimes you may have a date with somebody that you don't even like that. You meet them in person, it's like, ooh, I don't want to sit through a whole 2-hour dinner with you and I don't like you.
Yeah, well,
like, what the heck? Give me some ice cream.
I'm gonna say this first of all. That's an easy way around that to me. I've never if I meet you in the mall, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I meet you Monday at 11 in the mall,
mm-hmm.
I personally don't think we should be going out Monday night talking about a date, because I don't know anything that you like. I don't know anything about your personality. Right. If I'm trying to take you out Monday night, I probably would take you out to an expensive restaurant because of what you said. I'm gonna try to get something later on that night. Now I got you damn right. If I go, most men will like this. If you go spend XYZ on a date, you got some type of expectation. I better not see you out with another dude. Better not find until I get it anyway.
Right.
Now, personally, if I was to meet somebody on a Monday, I'm not trying to go out with you until at least Friday, at least Thursday, because I'm gonna start a conversation to see what you kind of like. So, to the point, if I know you don't really like ice cream, or I can get a sense of that wouldn't be a good date, because you're gonna throw something out like, yeah, I've done this, that, and the third, da da da. 9 times out of 10, if that doesn't intrigue you, you're going to speak on it in some type of form or fashion.
Right.
So I should know that I can't take you out just to eat ice cream, or to go on a picnic, or to Taco Bell, or to a movies, or to a Japanese restaurant. You may want Ruth Chris the first date, and you're going to get that from just the conversation. So I don't think people should be going on a date within a day or two of getting, of meeting somebody, because then you run into those type of expectations.
Yeah, that's true. But also though, I think
And I'm not letting no woman choose no date. Sorry.
but I think we've also forgotten the whole organic process that's involved in dating, right? Because one of the best dates I had before I met you was I met this guy, and I had worked on some projects with him before, some legal projects. He was an attorney. Hadn't seen him for months. End up back on another project, and it was, I don't know, a quasi, I guess you can call it a quasi date or whatever. But the and it was one of the, like I said before, I met you, one of the best dates I've been on. But it was simple, uh, us walking uptown Charlotte, talking, and then we happened to go past this free symphony, and we sat there and listened to the symphony and talked and everything else. But it was a very intimate type setting where we were able to talk about different things, get to know each other, blah blah. And I don't know if you call that a date or a meetup or whatever, but from what I'm reading, a lot of women wouldn't even have been okay with that.
Well, but so the difference with that is somebody, didn't you just say that you had known them before?
I really hadn't had conversation. I've seen him before. He had worked on a project with me. I've seen him. I've interacted like hi, that type of stuff.
But
But
you still had a sense of.
No, we really had never had a conversation or
Oh.
anything with each other. It's just that when I saw him again, hey, didn't you work on that project? Yeah, I did. Oh, okay. That type of thing.
Oh.
You get what I'm saying? So, and but I think my sense is like a lot of women would have balked at that. Like, you thought that was a nice day. Like, how you think that?
So
Like,
that's
yeah.
I'm confused. So is that something that y'all discussed? Y'all was gonna meet up and go do that, or
It
y'all
was,
just after work or something?
yeah. He was just like, let's go, blah blah.
Well, that ain't really a date.
But
That's
it's
like
a meetup, right?
yeah.
Though.
Well, I don't know. It depends on what you're saying. Like if you went home and then he went
No,
home,
I didn't go
and
home. We
then
didn't go home.
so then
It
that's
was kind of like just like, hey, let's go check this out.
okay. So
Or
then
let's go, blah,
that's
blah,
what I
blah.
want to get to. All right. So that was like an after work thing, right? So that can't really be considered as a date. So now if y'all would have
But
went
but
home.
my point is, if he had said, hey, you want to meet up later, to come listen to the symphony, I'd have been like, okay.
Well, that's fine.
Or
That's
let's.
but what I'm saying to you is okay. I get that part. That's you. I'm going to the other women.
Mhm,
But let's say that same scenario, and y'all went there after work. Da 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 da.
mhm.
Talked on the phone, and then the next date or the next when he called, when y'all talked or whatever. At that point, y'all got to know whatever one likes and this, that, and the
Mhm.
third. Obviously, if you enjoyed that, then he know, okay, well, this is things that she enjoys. She's a simple person. So then, yeah, he would have got the sense from that interaction that maybe a picnic would be good with her because she enjoyed this, and so the
But that's
conversation
right.
ensued after that. Let's say the
But that's my
ordinary
point,
person.
though. I'm saying that the women that are balking at this are saying that should almost like that should be every woman's standard. Every woman
Oh,
should. If a guy doesn't take you out, regardless of what he knows about you, if he doesn't take you out to this expensive restaurant and invest this time in you, with taking
that
you to
ain't
this
time. That's
to
money.
this right, and invest the money. That's what they said to money in you, like taking you to these expensive restaurants. He's not trying to really get to know you. He's not really trying to wife you. He's not really trying to. And I'm just like, that doesn't make sense because it
Yeah,
depends on the woman. You get
yeah.
what I'm saying?
That's
So even in that instance, if I had met a guy, I've met dudes before you get on dating apps, Bumble or whatever, and they've said, "Hey, let's go grab some coffee." And now our response is like, "I don't
don't
drink coffee. I
listen.
drink tea."
Listen, don't say that anymore.
No, shut
No,
up.
I'm talking about you on dating apps because that's where the male whores are, and they try to
Shut
get.
up. That ain't the point. But no, but what they never mind. I ain't gonna tell you. A lot of them were men that were not African American, but
Still horse.
it was like, hey, let's go get this, uh, coffee, and I'm like, no, I don't drink coffee. I drink tea. I'll meet you for tea though. Okay. We go get tea. Had long, interesting conversations. I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with that. I wasn't like looking like this person gotta take me to this restaurant because if he don't, that doesn't mean he's serious about me. That's crazy to me.
Again, you're talking about people that different experiences and how they were raised, and then how the world has transformed people's minds, a women mind in particular.
I think
Because
everything's material now.
it is. It's about what you do for me.
It is. And you can have a dude do all that stuff. You can have the guy. do everything, all these criteria that women are saying men should do to show that they're serious. Because somebody was like, well, you can get to know them well enough over the phone. Trust me, you cannot. Because I was in a relationship where I didn't know jack about a person. And I spent a considerable amount of time with them on the phone. And they were lying about everything. So, no, you cannot. So, and then the other thing, you can have a person that go out of their way. Matter of fact, narcissists are known to do that. They're known to go out of their way and treat you to these extravagant dates when the first time you have a date with them. And guess what? That's what they call love bombing. Those men are manipulative. So that doesn't mean anything. Like somebody doing that with you on the first date doesn't mean anything. What you should be looking at is whether the person is sincere, with their character, what you can tell of their character by through phone conversations, by these sometimes just meetups to grab coffee or to and everything else. You shouldn't be basing all that on whether or not they took you to a exquisite date the first time or not. You just shouldn't.
That's what she said.
You don't want to know where we had our first. I don't even know if we had a first date, to be honest.
It was in your bedroom.
I don't even know if you can call it a date.
It was in your
No, I'm
bedroom.
talking the first
I
time we
got
had
some.
the first time we had a date.
Nigga,
Supposedly was at the movies.
Oh, that I made you pay for.
I don't know if I paid for it.
Oh, I ain't make you pay for it.
No.
Oh, I liked you.
No, he paid for one movie and then
She paid
you
for
had to
everything
sneak
else.
into the other movie.
Oh yeah.
That was our date.
Listen,
It was a cheap date.
But no, yeah, hey, listen.
Very cheap.
I was a pay for one, get all of them free. Let me tell you something. To date me, you gotta be hood. I have some hood characters in. So this is Mr. Turner here. I represent people for breaking in and stealing movies and all of this crap, right? We went and watched the movie. I don't know what movie it was, so don't even ask. It was like, hey, it was an early movie too. Wanna go watch another one? Well, we gotta go back and pay. No, we don't. We got the big tub of popcorn to get the refill and the big drink. That's a refill.
That was my date.
We can go right over here to the other movie for free. We didn't is buy one, get everyone in here for free. Because they don't stand at the door. And we would have got there at 10 o'clock in the morning. We'd have watched every movie in the movie theater messing with me. Right. So we ended up watching what, 2 movies, 3 movies, 2 or 3 movies. Had all the popcorn we wanted. And if she wouldn't have liked that and would have been on internet, hey, whatever, dude, like that, you ain't gotta date me no more. Don't matter to me. So
that's what I'm saying,
man.
Yeah, so he was very cheap.
Yeah, I was cheap. If you told me you were gonna give me some, I probably would have took you to Taco Bell after.
You know what?
You know what I'm saying? I don't play that. I'm just saying,
I got some Taco Bell, baby.
Taco Bell. And hey,
when we got the package that they give you for like
you damn right. It was like $5.99 or something. It was 6 tacos for $5. We would have shared 3, and I would have asked for a refill on the movie drink. I don't play that, man. No. Yeah, but anyway, I ain't got no more to say. I'm getting hungry.
So yeah, we hungry. But these are the books. So one part of our vision board. I don't know if you remember
that's the last
our
one
vision
we
board
did.
that we did. That was the last one we did in Iowa. But one of the things we're gonna find a book and read a book together. So
you heard what she said.
He left it up to me, right?
Whoa, what you say?
We're gonna find a book and read.
Find what?
A book.
Find what?
A book.
What?
But I found 2.
Thank you. She said,
but he said we're gonna read both of them. So, but anyway,
she said a book, and she come up with 2 books.
So we got this book. It says "Becoming Married."
I hate reading.
And Staying Married: A Guide for African American Couples, and it has like different like discussion questions that you can discuss as a couple. And then there's this one, Marriage 101. And this one has a study guide with it too, but this one is more scripture based. So it has discussion questions, and then it also has different scriptures for you and your spouse to kind of look at. So these are the 2 books that we're gonna do together. And then I have some books that I'm also gonna read.
Hey, she just then broke that. I ain't seen this book right. I went fishing. This thing came up with a whole whoa.
I said I'm gonna read. So this I bought this book. It says How to Love a Black Woman, right? And then there's another one that comes with it that says How to Love a Black. Yeah. So I bought both of them. Now, if he wants to read this How to Love a Black Woman on his own, he can. Because I'm going to read How to Love a Black Man. I'm going to read both of them. But I was thinking maybe we can do like a book discussion club type thing. Like, because I think you've had a lot of good reviews. So I think it's a good book for men to read and women to read. Like I said, one is How to Love a Black Woman, and the one that's coming tomorrow is How to Love a Black Man. So I got those books. Then I'm on the reading thing. I have this book called Unf.
When I left the house, it was 2 books.
And
And
then
then
I
the
have
whole
this book
library.
that my daughter got me. She got me these last 2. I don't know if you can see it, but it says Set Boundaries and Find Peace. And this is a really good book too, because it's all about how to set appropriate boundaries. And it also has like discussion questions or self-reflection questions in there that you can fill out in your journal. So anyway, which book did you read? This one, The Boundaries. But I think it'd be kind of good. Oh, Unf Yourself. Yeah, that book. I started this one, and it starts off very good. I like it. I definitely like it. I've applied some of the things he talked about in here, and it definitely made a difference.
First, how you undo that is just put all your sex toys away.
Oh, shut up. But no, I would think of like a book discussion club maybe later on would be kind of cool with this one, since there's so much discord amongst the Black man and female and how they communicate and everything else. So that is all for now. We will be back. We're gonna do it next Sunday, though, right? We'll do it next Sunday until we come up with another date. I think we got until what they say August, which is another week before football starts. So we'll be back next Sunday, and then we'll have a new date and time which we'll do it.
Oh, I gotta get my stuff out the boat.
But thank you for tuning in. And he gotta get the stuff out of his boat. I'm not feeding him. So and it's 10 o'clock. It's too late to eat. Bye-bye. Wait, what's that thing we supposed to do?
Oh. I don't want that lipstick on me.
Oh, come on.
I don't believe you.
Give me a kiss.
It's going on 2 years. This is terrible. And I didn't know it was supposed to rain anymore.